Okay. Welcome to AUF Voice Your Thoughts. I'm your host, Osla, and co-hosting with me is
Franklin, the cost rep of the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That was loud though.
So you guys can see our course rep is here. If you have any problem,
Bring your courses to me. Oh.
exactly.
Emakwa.
So on today's show, we have two good-looking guests who are here to spice up and give us their thoughts. To my right-hand side is Ekene, a contractor in construction, interior decorations, anything you want, hit him up. He's there to serve. And on my left-hand side is beautiful Chioma, aka Oma Sombas. She's a journalist, a broadcasting journalist, and a voice artist. So a voiceover artist. So for those of you that don't know how to do proper voiceover on your video, this is who you're going to consult here. So today's topic, we are going to be talking about our parents and their parenting. However, with a little twist, we are going to be comparing the parenting back in the days and the parenting now.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So, our beautiful Chioma, I feel a little bit attack on. I mean, really Jay Z with the well, we ride on, we ride
Choma,
on.
you're Gen Z, right?
You're
Not really. I'm a millennial.
you millennial. Me una
You
know.
are
Who told
millennial.
you?
You are generation Alpha, Gen X. You are Gen X.
Not Gen Z.
You're not
I think I'm
when
Gen Y.
you're Gen
Maybe
X.
Gen Y.
It's the same thing now.
Millennial. You're Gen X. You're in the beginning.
Okay, in the beginning
Yes.
was God.
In the beginning
Was-
game.
in the
In the
beginning,
beginning
in the
game.
beginning was Adam.
Yes.
Or the word, Abby. Now the
Yes.
word though, me know they quote another thing, no. The
So-
beginning was the word though, not me.
Let's get to the topic. Let's understand what the topic
Yes.
is about.
Yes. If we can see, aside from parenting, what's not, life generally, you can see there's a very big different dynamic within the way things are being done then and the way things are done now. So, but we want to focus on the parenting. Back then, there are certain things your parents you will do, and your parents will caution you immediately. And there are certain things you do now, you will see, you will notice that there is a change in the way their parents parents these days. So, what do you think?
The thing is, just like you said,
Yes.
there's a huge gap,
Yes.
right? And I think what actually led to that is, the increase in technology. Like
Okay.
Nigeria, not just Nigeria, the whole world is like a global.
Yes.
All right, so we learn a lot of things from the Western countries, and then like take for instance, if you're in America, a child does something, there's a way you school the child. The child will now dial, call the police and stuff
911.
like that. But if it's here in Nigeria, if you do something, you're getting a beating, you're being whipped, you're being flogged immediately, you're being reprimanded for that.
Yeah.
Right? But due to that, a lot of things have happened because like I remember growing up, anything you do you're being cautioned. In fact, you're being careful not to step on toes. You're being careful not to do some things that will, get your father beating you, or sometimes they can even say to you, for doing stuff like this, you're not going to eat. Like, yes, for doing stuff like this, you're not going to eat. For doing stuff like this, you're going to receive like 20 lashes. Right?
Okay.
There's several things, but now there are some things a child, even children back in the days, there are some things you do, you don't boldly face your dad. Like if your dad is shouting,
They
you're
mad.
exchanging words with your
Eh?
dad. Come on, you're like, dad, I'm so sorry, mommy, I'm so sorry, I won't do it. And as you're saying that, you are actually you're actually learning, you're actually,
Yes.
putting those things into action. Right?
Yes.
You're not arguing, you're like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. And then you're putting that into action. But these days, your father is talking to your child, and then, oh my God, Daddy, who told you that? They boldly look at your father, and some even look at them in the eye, and then they did something, right? Maybe you're supposed to take off the trash at a certain time, and then they didn't. And your father is shouting, and they're like, "Excuse me, Daddy, who told you that? Come on."
Okay, well, I think I have something to ask you from what you said. You said we copy the Westerners a lot.
Yes.
Is it the standard? Is it what we're supposed to be doing? Because we have our own culture.
The thing is that there is huge infiltration of the Western culture into ours right now.
is it right or wrong? What can
The,
you
the
say
thing
about
is,
it?
the thing is, I'm not trying to condemn the Western culture. The only thing is just that their values and ours are not the same.
Way different. Way different.
It's not
Yeah.
the same, all right?
Yeah.
Theirs can just fit in perfectly well because of their life pattern and everything there.
Yes.
But here there's this, I don't know how I'm going to put it, there's this moral, high moral standards that we have here that
Okay.
makes us relate very well, that makes us, be important in the society, sort of. All right. But because of the technology, because of the advent of social media, we learn stuff like that and then we imbibe it here. And then for the fact that a lot of things we do now, parents are usually at work more
Yeah.
than staying at home to take care of their children, to find out what they have done. There's sometimes children would have issues in school, but because parents work so hard, some go out in the morning and then come back at night. At night, your children are sleeping. You don't
Yeah.
know what issues they have had in schools or stuff like that. So there's usually that time that our parents had then and now. It's no longer there. That bonding, and then parents are usually pressing phones. Your child needs help or your child needs guidance. They're pressing phones.
So
Yeah.
so this is where I want to come in. I won't entirely blame it on our parents.
Yes, definitely I won't.
I'll blame it on before you became a mother.
Yeah.
Who were you? These days, a lot of young persons prepare themselves. They want to get to the university, they want to study, they want to graduate,
Okay.
but there is no preparation going into becoming a mother or becoming a father. And then once you are 35, once you are 30, once you are late 20s,
Yeah.
you are expected to go and get married
Married,
or get someone. And then anybody that wants to ask you about marriage will ask you, do you have a financial stability to get ready to, get married? Do you have a car? Do you have a
Yeah.
good house? Nobody is asking you if you're mentally ready to get married. There is a marriage course that anybody that wants to get into marriage is supposed to
To take.
partake in, or the processes, learn about it. And that is why you see parents who are not prepared to parent anybody. They are even yet to understand themselves. So once they get into the marriage, they are battling with even their own husband. They are battling with their own selves. Because I bet you think you know everything about yourself, but you don't. By the time you give birth to, assuming let's say triplets or quadruplets, some part of you as a woman will unravel to your own self. So it depends on the kind of exposure you had before the marriage that will prepare you to arm yourself. And then we have the factors you mentioned, the social media. The world is, in quotes, more liberal now, and information is faster. And so we need to now arm ourselves. I feel marriage is an institution that a lot is fighting, a lot is pointing towards, a lot is about to dismantle it. And those getting into it are not prepared. It takes us 6 years, it takes us 4 years to prepare to go and work somewhere, to prepare ourselves to go and become CEOs, marketers, journalists, medical
Okay.
doctors. But we don't prepare ourselves for that lifetime marriage. And so we enter into it and it becomes a mess. Total mess.
I think drawing your mind to that, I could remember that before someone gets married,
Mhm.
take for instance the female, you have to go to the family, more or less like there is this sort of background training you're being given,
Yeah.
right? Whereby you go in, they teach you some certain things. I think they do that to the guys as well. But
Yeah.
this time around, I don't think that is done. Probably, some little sort of education you're supposed to be taught about how to handle some issues, how to handle in-laws, how to how to scold a child. Things at some certain age your child gets to. There are a certain education, sort of sex education you should give to your child
Yeah.
at some certain
Yeah.
point. That was being given there. Because I could remember that I don't know. There was a novel that I read whereby the lady had to go to the family of the guy, spend some time. You learn how to cook, you learn their culture, sort of.
But don't you think, sorry to cut in, don't you think that the trainings we give ladies are usually way more than trainings given to male children?
No children.
Yeah, true.
There's this
I think it's
societal.
both ways.
True.
I think it's
But
both
the
ways.
thing is, it
Both
depends
ways.
from
No.
families, right?
I think
No, I
Because
feel
I
like
remember that growing up,
yes.
the guys they are being told there's some certain task the guys are being given.
It's not necessary anymore because the society now.
Yes, that's what
you're
I'm
supposed
saying.
to learn
There are
everything.
some tasks the guys are being given. There are some tasks the girls are being given. And sometimes there are some families that'll be like, whatever the lady is doing, the guy should be doing.
Sorry
Whatever
to
guy is
attack the
doing-
Gen Zs as well. How many of them know how to cook now?
You can get a chef now. Omo, this grammar will be blow.
Why should you get the chef? Look at what somebody is
Hello, I
saying.
can wait.
Look at what somebody is saying.
But does it mean that if you need to boil hot water, you need to get a chef?
You don't need any
What I
chef
want to
anyway.
know-
But it's not. It shouldn't be a problem.
The factors associated to getting a chef is a mess. You get a chef in your house, tomorrow they're sleeping with your children, they're molesting your child. There's a lot of things.
But-
we don't just say get a chef. It's not that easy.
But what I want to say there is that I get back then the training they were giving, it was preparing this, it was preparing that.
A
But
lot of
moral
value.
training,
Yeah.
yes. But like the world has changed. Now,
What changed the world?
back then, like you were saying something about when a lady wants to get married, they would send her, go and live with your in-laws for some days, get to know them, familiarize with them.
Okay.
Then your mother-in-law will now start teaching you, do this,
Yeah.
do that, this is how you live. Then they were training the men to be breadwinners. Men were then, the guys were now go.
Yeah.
They were training them to work and provide.
And even go
They were
fight
training them as
wars
providers
stuff.
and protectors, while they were training the women as home managers. But now you see a lady is working, a man is working.
Okay.
We are both working. In the morning, I'm up, you're up.
Which is
We are both
why
going
we are
to
not
work.
supposed to
So
divide the responsibility initially. We are supposed to train everybody equally.
That's
if you're
life.
training a lady to wash clothes, let the guys know how to wash the
That's-
boxers.
Not
it,
just
it,
specifically
it's what works well for
guys.
them
Yeah.
back then. Do you get? I feel like it was what worked well for them.
Which is
back
why
then.
I feel
they saw women a
parenting
little
course should be
weaker
introduced before you go get
get
married.
into marriage. Yes, I think that's
Sorry,
that's
what
the
did you
way
say again?
Parenting courses
should be introduced.
Very important.
It should be.
In
It should be. Yeah, it should
primary
be.
school.
in schools,
It
just
should
like
be
the secondary
imbibed.
should return. Parenting courses should be introduced in schools. I feel marriage is a lifetime thing, but people see it as one-off. Once you have a child in need,
So this is AUF Voice Your Thoughts, where we ask difficult questions,
yeah.
share life opinions, share life experiences, opinions, and facts. We ask questions, never raps. Questions that are in our minds, our body, and soul that we don't get to ask ourselves. So this is a platform where we get to ask these questions and say it as it is. So we've been able to say some positive things about.
Wow.
This is Nigeria, no? This is Nigeria. So this is Nigeria. So we have said some positive things about what is obtainable in our parents then and now. And this is what the platform is for, where we filter the positives of the matters living in our society. We go deeper into asking these difficult questions and provide solution to the problems that are living in our society. So I feel
Just speak English.
Okay, what
All the viewers are not Igbo.
No, you know, I asked you a question.
Yeah.
This best global practices thing, something that this indoctrination is something I don't feel too comfortable with it. I
Okay.
feel there are some things that need to change.
That's why sometimes we feel that our academic system is lacking. There are things we're
Maybe
supposed
it's
to
more like a modification.
Yes,
Yes.
infuse in our academic system. First of all, let's understand that our culture should be part of what we learn in school.
Okay.
And just as we are all preaching that the education system, the curriculum should be changed, let the media understand what reportage is about, because I feel citizen journalism has taken over, just like the Gen Zs and anybody now has access to internet. Anybody can post any kind of information. That's why mainstream is still controlling what we are doing here in Nigeria. When I mean mainstream, I mean the informations we get from the Western media is still controlling us. But if we are able to make ourselves more stable, share our own information, like if you talk about the Civil War, like during the NSAS, a lot of persons did not know what happened in 1960s, 1975, because if you go to schools, we're not teaching any history. The history we find in our library is just the Western history. And it's crazy.
The ones you even say it's just really sketchy. It's not really that in depth.
In depth. It's nothing. You don't even find any information. It's as if what they taught them in 1991 it's the same history that's still
Still
sharing
sharing with
right
us
now.
there.
And so you're asking yourself, how do we arm ourselves against Western media? Because media literacy for me in Nigeria is very low. Anybody
Okay.
can get any fake information and share. No
Share
fact
it.
checking, nothing.
Nothing.
And so we share the information that way. We're mainstreaming what they want us to mainstream. So it's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I have a problem with. Like, I don't know how that thing is going to change, or the indoctrination is very strong. It's very, very strong. For me, if you're doing so, we compare almost everything we do. We compare, this is not the way it's
But
being done in the
we,
West.
we compared them because we're
Because
looking at them as, we're using
they
them
are
as, say,
better.
As standards.
Yeah,
And
They are-
yet, should
yes.
it be so?
we are pegging ourselves.
Should it
to
be
them.
so?
Okay, personally, there's this thing my dad will always tell you, that in life, how to learn properly is when you accumulate what everyone tells you and your belief, you sieve out the good part of it and do away with the wrong.
That's the
I don't
media
think
literacy I'm talking about.
we-
The ability to sieve both
yes,
informations.
I don't think we should generally say no, we don't like what they are giving us, let's move it and focus on, because they are part of our own culture
Yeah.
that are so barbaric that if
Yeah,
we
that we
start
need to start.
practicing our own culture here, now us go tire first.
But let's still go back to
Do you
the
get-
parenting. And,
That's what I'm trying to say. In relation to parenting,
yeah.
if we start practicing our own, like if you say, oh yeah, leave that, because if you look at it, there are certain aspects of the westernization in parenting that has helped. Some people will be like, yes, we are exposing our children to a lot of things at an early age, this. But like in a way, it is good. All we need to do is we should know how to control that exposure we are giving them.
Do
you get-
Talking about control, let
Yes.
me also ask, do you think it's
Okay.
still necessary to flog your child? Yes or no? I'll get a yes or no answer from you
Okay.
guys. Then you support it with your reasons. Yes or no?
Personally, no.
Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Yes or no, sir?
Say it as it. You know, like when
I
you
said
to
yes.
work.
She said yes.
She said yes. That's what I'm trying
So
to
you
tell
yes
her.
or no?
Yes.
Me
I
yes
feel.
as well. I know.
But there's no problem.
No
I
pressure,
know.
no pressure.
Yeah.
So, first, why
Yeah.
me I'm so against hitting a child is one, with the way children are growing up now, a lot of people have a lot of illnesses, diseases, a lot of people, nobody's alive again. We are, even the living is dead. You can hit a child in your mind now, it's just this thing you did this child. And the child that you did this thing now will fall down here. Sorry, my lord. You're the wrong side of my hand. You're just at my wrong side.
But
And the child will just fall down now. And
Yeah.
this, and secondly, personally, I feel like continuously flogging a child hardens that child. It doesn't necessarily impact what we think it does again
I think he
on
adds fear.
children.
He adds
I don't,
fear.
and that thing, yeah, some people say it adds fear, it does that. Personally, I don't think it necessarily, maybe because I grew up in a home where, and at an early stage, when we are growing up, when we are just kids, I think when it was just me and my sisters, my dad had like guys, because he's a business person, and he had like guys that were apprentices and
Yeah.
stuff learning. So he used to forget that we are still children. He used to see us as those his boys. So he would beat us the same way. Then, if my father should return from work and he hears or he sees you outside, we lived in a flat initially,
Had the same
outside
experience.
in the compound
Had the
though.
same
Once you hear your
experience,
dad is home,
My dad
everybody
is so
Speaks
And my
to
dad
them.
is huge that he would just lift you up in the air and he'll be wiping you. Now you're not running anywhere.
So you follow.
I think
From
what
where
you're
you, from
saying
where he
is
met
the
you.
He met
He met
you.
you.
The flogging. I think what
The flog. I'm
The
looking at the
father was
flogging.
not correcting them in love. You can correct your child, but you will not correct your child.
No, I will
in
not
love.
say he was not correcting us in love, because initially when he flogs you, you'll be scared to do something because daddy will
Love
flog
and
you.
then a flog in the big corner.
Do you
Correct.
Yes, now there's
Yeah, you correct. Yes, yes.
Let's not-
this Igbo adage that will say, beat your child with the, I think, right hand and console him with the left hand.
Yeah.
So my dad
Carrot and
then,
stick approach.
yes, my dad then will flog
What?
us and we
Sorry,
were
Carrot
scared.
and stick approach.
Oh,
We are
okay.
scared initially.
Carrot and stick
If daddy is coming back, oh, mom, don't do this, so daddy will flog you. Don't do this, so daddy will flog you. At some point, daddy will flog you. Daddy, is it not cane? He'll flog you. We'll test it now. And then you now start doing akbo. If he flogs you, sometimes you gotta wear three
Now,
clothes inside.
Her
Do you
reasons,
get-
her reasons are established. Let me get yours. Why did you say
Okay,
yes?
mine is this.
Okay.
From her own part, her father feels that if we just raise you up and then leave you, that's the best we know.
With force.
Yeah, you can correct a child with love, just like you said. Everything is not like once a child does something, you flog the child. No. there are some other little punishments you could give the child, right? But
Okay.
don't just basically put it that once you do this, you're being flogged. Yes, I can flog a child, but not constantly, because there's a way that child will have it in his or her mentality that, oh, what is it? After all, I'm beating now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I don't want to instill that sort of fear into my child. I will flog my child, but not all the time. All right, there are other approaches to it, but I'm not going to remove that fact of saying, you know,
You should remove it
spoil the role.
completely.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to remove it completely. You just have to tell the child that, because yes, there are some punishments you might give to the child, and then the child might be able to learn. But that flogging, I cannot entirely remove. The only thing is this: the method of flogging is important, because there are some child that you may just flog 21. They're already gasping for breath.
And you're
Or they are-
creating hatred.
Yes, sort of. So the thing is, I think it depends on the level of strokes you give that child, but not constantly flogging your child. Like once he or she does something, you flog.
Yeah.
That's
Not
my
everybody
issue.
has that level of patience.
Let's get his own reason
Not
now.
everybody has that level.
Why
of
did you
patience.
say flogging is still necessary in training kids?
It's important because
Why?
there's this thing about anger when you keep keeping it down, you know.
On the
As
side
if-
of the parent or the side of the child?
the side of the parents.
Okay.
As if you're filling up a cylinder and you filled up a gas cylinder, cooking
Yeah.
gas, and you put it at the back of your boat, and the sun is hitting it up,
And it bursts open.
Yeah, something like that. It's compressing. So if you get to a point where you cannot be able to hold it down, you might, if you're not very careful, you
And
might
then the
do
best way to
something.
express is to flog your child.
Just it's not an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Just like he mentioned the carrots and
The stick approach.
good. It's not ọbụrụ ihe a na-eme mgbe ọbụla, but I believe na onwe ebe ọ ya bụ ọ dị ka ihe a na-emekwa na marriage couples na-eme a sị na ọ bụrụ mgbe nwata kwafuru mmanụ ka a na-eti ya ihe n'ụbọchị ime. Your wife might do something.
Yeah.
Your wife might do something now and you might not react.
Transfer of aggression.
Yes, you can now. It might not be the remote that you said people should not keep this remote here again.
Yeah.
And you now start saying, who kept this remote here? Who kept this remote? And you now use because of the remote and now do,
Yeah.
something like that. So it's important that if you want child a number of times, you have to let him know that he has gotten to a point, like you've gotten to your elastic limit.
Get to the
like,
breaking point.
Yes.
So you should know that there is a limit. Like when you show an adult now that like you're very
upset.
angry now, you can just ignore the
Like,
person,
though you're
or you can
calm,
leave.
but
Yeah, you
some
can
certain
leave the
things-
place, or you can say like, you know what, I don't want to talk about this thing again. Like the child should know at that young age, at that level, that there is a point, there is a breaking point to this.
Yeah.
Don't do that like up to 7 times, or like if once you see that my dad has kept calm, he's not saying anything about this again, just know that this is the breaking point.
So for me, why I said it's very necessary to still flog your kids.
Yes.
One reason is that a lot of parents keep telling you that when you flog your child, you are no longer building an emotional relationship with them.
Yes.
They will grow to hate you. And I remember one of the videos I watched where Barack Obama's wife, what's her name?
Michelle.
Was talking about parents should avoid being friends with their children at some certain age. She said 0 to, I have forgotten.
Yeah, I saw a video like that also. Training, discipline,
One
whatever.
of the things I've noticed
Coaching.
about flogging and letting your kids know that this is it, you've done enough. By the time they are adults and adolescents, there are behaviors in them they will even question. How could my father allow me to be smoking and he didn't stop me from doing this? I'm giving an example.
Okay.
And I remember that there are some times I'm a triplet, and my father will flog you and say, sit down. In fact, from the age of 8, we had a timetable we were operating with. Once you're back from school, you must keep to that timetable. Then it was crazy. I let me use it was I hated my parents. But immediately I was 20, 25.
You got to the age of reasoning, and then
I realized
They
that
are teaching you time
these guys
management.
actually helped
Didn't
me.
we all
They are
hate our
actually
parents?
teaching you
Didn't
time
we all?
management.
What I called hatred then, I actually started loving them.
It was
Yes.
discipline.
It was discipline.
Yeah.
It was coaching.
But now, but if you don't do that, they end up calling police for you, just like you said.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
A point in their life will come when they
Yes.
also realize that, if they will ever realize, because I think mind modeling is what you can do when the kids are quite little.
Little.
Yeah.
If you don't do it by that time, getting to 30, 35, they will not even know that what they're doing is wrong.
Wrong. Yeah.
That's why I told you that a lot of parents are not ready to parent their children,
Yeah.
because the parenting they got on their own side was wrong. Fundamentals were wrong. So sometimes teach your child in a hard way when necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
how do you
not
know?
On all,
Not on all levels.
Yeah.
Not on all levels.
Okay. Personally,
Gen Z
I
value
feel like
something Fast goals.
calm. It is not attack.
I feel like, yeah, continue
Yeah,
with
but
that.
I just feel like-
all the time.
This again.
I
Meet
mean,
the Ribena.
I feel like that's my point wrong. See, personally, I'm against flogging. Like, there are other punishments that you can give a child if you still want to
For
instill
instance.
discipline, if you still want to
Squat in the
instill
air.
morals. There are
Take a
certain
pin.
punishments
They
without
call it corporal
using a cane on a child. For instance, now, let's say, okay, your child now went to school and you told the child that school dismisses by 2 o'clock. It takes you 1 hour here. By 3, you should be back at home. Unless you have a valid reason to be outside and the
Yeah.
child comes back by 6 and you're asking the child, why did you come back late? This, that. And the child is trying to do, one or two, wants to come and lie. You don't necessarily have to hit that child. There are certain punishments you give that child. I'm saying it based off experience though.
Yeah.
All right.
I know when my dad would flog me because I did something. And when I go inside, I'll be so pissed. My anger would not be focused on, or
What
at that point, my thought process is not even reflecting on what I did.
Yeah.
It's that skin. I will be looking at the
Yeah.
scarring.
Feeling
Like my younger sister that
Yeah.
scars very quick. Any small thing you do, I will show. She'll be looking at, oh my God, see my skin.
Mm.
When I go back to school and they will ask me, what's this, what's that? But then I remember one time that I did something and my daddy gave me a silent treatment for 1 month. A full whole month holiday, I was at home. My dad is somebody that will come back. He buys a lot of stuff. He will buy stuff to give my siblings, give everybody. And the way our house is built, there are the adult side, there are the children's
Yeah.
side. He comes back, he will buy this, buy snacks. He knows those things I like, he will not buy it. He will call my siblings to the adult house, share them, and then I'll be out there. Do you know I was scared? We were about to resume school. I was scared. I didn't know how to approach him for school
In
fees.
this instance,
The
it's
next-
also important to say
Yes.
parents should also monitor their children.
Yes.
They could have the same tendencies that you have. So if you know the best way to handle them,
Them,
you
okay.
can do that.
Yes.
But remember, know the breaking point to
Yes.
use your cane.
Yes.
So let's look at other factors.
Okay, I have
that
another
cause-
question before we move on.
Okay.
We talk about flogging, parenting. My question then is age-wise. At what age do you think I'm not going to hit this young man again? I can't raise my hand, or are you going to keep beating this young man or young woman until they leave the house?
my dad made that as a point of order in my house.
Yes.
He told my mom, he said, once any of my child turns 18,
Okay.
stop hitting them.
Okay.
With cane, with hands, slap,
Yeah.
stop
Broomstick.
Stop all of that.
Eh,
Because from that age, once they are 19, 20,
20.
they're in the university.
yes.
No lecturer is flogging them in the university.
Exactly.
And then by that time, if they come back home and you flog them, they won't just shout at you, they might hit you back.
yes.
And then you're having fracas.
So my question
So
is,
completely avoid that.
sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
My question.
And that's also the age you know if you've trained your child well or not, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Just continue. We
wanted
want
to
to get a
say
question.
something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this flogging thing. Is it something our parents then did? The parents now, are they still flogging? Do they have a different
I feel like
approach?
The thing is, I don't think it's that rampant.
Yeah, I feel like there's a
Online.
whole lot leniency
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes now.
Yeah.
They
It's
hardly.
not common, and
Yes.
people are now using.
When you see them do stuff, is they will seize your phone, seize your
Yeah.
devices.
They tell you
Actually, you're grounded, locked in your room.
But wait, at what point is it necessary to introduce phones
Phones.
for our children?
Come on.
And I'll use
Please.
myself
Come
as an
on.
example as
Me
well.
too.
Because phone is another factor that is
as early as possible.
distracting children, actually doing a lot of
Sometimes
things.
you don't know what you're doing on the internet.
I know what I'm going to
The
say
only thing
now.
they'll do on the internet is fun stuff, things that will excite their memory, which
Yes.
is pornography.
No.
No.
If you see it that way,
I
no.
disagree.
That's
So you need
I
to
disagree.
monitor your
I
child.
disagree.
No.
Majorly,
No,
majorly,
no,
majorly.
no.
You know
You
what
have
I'm
to
saying?
be
That
Okay.
learning
You have to
is
be
difficult.
No, yes.
Learning is difficult. That's why I keep saying, if you want to get your kids to read, get novels for them, get a hard copy for them. Don't start with, oh, go and download
The
the
soft
there,
copy.
there are sometimes schools, like some
Mm-mm.
schools will be like, they give them assignments, you're supposed to come to school with your phone, there are some assignments you should browse, or there are some, yes, like my brother's own school, secondary school. You know, some schools will also tell
of the
their
age.
child or
I
tell
think-
their what to come to school with phones. What do you do? Like a child that does not have
I think we've not specified the age.
No, he's not. His question is,
Okay.
at what age should
Yeah.
you
Oh, at what age?
introduce
Yeah.
phones.
Personally, I feel like as early as possible.
It depends on the phone. That's another
There
thing.
is where there is
Browsing
a
phone
but.
or just a phone for just receiving
Okay.
calls.
But
Internet accessible gadgets.
yes, I feel like the way you introduce phone differs at the age, like age-wise. There's an age your child will be. There are certain phones or there are certain limitations the child will have when it comes to phone.
Yeah.
Let me say a young growing child, let me say from the age of 0 to roughly 7, let me put it there, 7. If you're going to get your child at that age, a child then from that age, you get the person, this is what you call the iPad babies. You get them an iPad. Now that iPad has, you ensure that iPad has no internet connection. And whatever, and you make sure that whatever is you, that's where you now focus, monitor what's going on that iPad, what type of apps and what type of softwares are on that iPad. Because I feel like now in this generation, you just don't learn reading. A lot of people find reading boring. If you notice it, that you can ask a child, give a child a novel to read, and ask the child to go. But after 1 week, ask the child what the novel said, or play a music now, put it there, and they are saying it. This child will tell you what the song said from the beginning to the
Because
end. Because I feel like people learn a lot now, both visually
voices,
and
yeah.
audially, not just what you're reading.
So what happened to the reading of that hard copy?
No, I'm not saying you should remove reading from hard copy.
I actually have I
Okay.
disagree with her because this is failed parenting that she's talking about.
Really?
But she's bringing it out in a different manner.
Really?
Now,
Do you think so?
Is it
Hold on,
generally?
hold on.
Okay.
I feel you shouldn't introduce phones to your children if they are below the age of 17. Reasons.
Internet.
Is it just
Please.
phone or
Phone.
any smart devices?
I think it's smart device because
If you want to do that, do laptops. Do laptops. Do whatever you want to do on the laptop. Close it. Screen time is also affecting our sight now. People spend a lot of time on screen. They don't know what they are doing there. But if it's laptop, you know that this is for assignment. This is for reading. And even I feel if the child is quite early and you are introducing, come go and read in the laptop, blah, blah, blah. Selective retention is what we are focusing right now that is affecting a lot of people. That's why a child cannot sit down. That was what my mom called sit down policy in my house. I remember when I went for a holiday with Professor Joy Ace, I went to her house. She also had it.
Mm.
Immediately after your nap, go and have your dinner, come back, sit down on the seat. Even if you're not reading that book and you're not understanding it, you're supposed to be on that seat for an hour. Because you notice that most of the information we consume on the internet is just 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's affecting the listening span and the watching span of children. Introduce the hard copy from the age of 7. Let them learn how to read. Hard copy.
That's what you think. That's your
but
opinion.
schools also
Yes.
affect children.
Because there was
in that
something
manner.
I wanted
That is
to
why
say before
when
you
you
cut
go to the
short.
schools, is it PTA meeting? What is it called?
Yeah, PTA.
Yes, PTA.
Tell them. I remember my school was just boarding school. My mom introduced boarding
Do
and
you
day.
think telling them is enough?
She stood her
Because
ground.
Still has
You know,
the way they do
Yeah.
their things.
There's a
They are
way
looking
we,
for a
Things
solution
that you give to
outside.
children,
there's a way we
tell them-
modernize things. They affect our kids.
There was something I wanted to say before a commission. There's this, I don't know if you guys made that book, but there's this book we used, like in my school, that was introduced in my primary school that we used to read. It's novels. This novels comes with DVD cassettes. Now, how you read the novel is like this. When you put on the DVD cassette, the story time is going on, they are literally reading out exactly what is in the book. Now you have your book.
Visual learning is good. I know about that.
Right? You have your book with you. You're reading the book. They are visualizing what's going on in the book and telling you exactly. Then say, the same way you write once upon a time, whichever word they are saying is being highlighted. Now you're seeing once highlighted there. Yeah. The once is in your novel. Now you're following this book. Those things those children watch is what captures their attention. Before you know it would help them.
Yeah, this is soft learning.
So I'm not necessarily saying
remove imaginative level. Listen, if you're not able to build the imaginative part of your brain, you can't be a good salesperson. You can't be very good in mathematics. You can't be good in further. I wish we had a child psychologist on this set to tell you about this. Let your child learn the hard way when their mind is building up. By the time they are adults, let them select. Okay. One of the reasons why I'm saying this is because I remember back when we were doing the whole WAEC preparations, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You see children who cannot do further mathematics. They can't do chemistry. Even the art students who cannot cram. These days, you can't get people sit down. Everything is go and do it on PDF, go and do it to PowerPoint. But once you see somebody who is in-depth in imagination, see their write-ups, see their articulation, and see the way they speak.
But there are some persons who also use all those softwares and still
to build. I don't feel like it's the way it's being used that is the issue. That's where that's where restriction comes.
Like I feel
we are only talking about this from the perspective of learning. Have you thought about it from perspective of security? If you teach your child how to operate these devices, because now we are all digitalizing, so they need to know how to use this thing. But at every age,
introduction is not bad.
Listen to me. At every age, depends on how you keep. Like you widen or you broaden that understanding of a device.
Distractions, there's a lot of distractions.
For me, a phone. Because first of all, the first thing phone does for us is to receive calls.
Thank you.
Which they don't need. Who are they?
No.
Hold on a second. No. Now, when a child is able to operate on certain things, you buy them this Palasa phone. Keep at home so that if there is
by SS3
we
were using land phone in my house.
Or even landline. Or landline. We had landline in our house. We had landline.
Calm down,
I'm calm now.
Because you're saying laptop. Don't you know a laptop does almost the same thing an iPad does or a mobile phone does? The only difference is one is handy and the other is not.
There's this lady I follow on social media now.
Yeah.
What she did is this. She gets a phone for her. I think she has a 6-year-old son. So what they do is just get phones, just small phones that is not internet connected. Keep it at home in case if there is any emergency. They can be able to call their dad and say this and that. And then when they're being given assignments, they are being monitored. What type of assignment you're monitoring them, you're watching it so that they do not, go in and that's looking for. That's what I'm saying. There should be restriction, and that is why there should be.
But it shouldn't be removed. That's where PG comes in.
So that at some point when they get to 18,
you broaden their horizon on the use of the phone. That's exactly what I was trying to tell you.
Now I understand. What about parents that once their child is crying,
yes,
they give them a phone?
No, now.
And then children even babies operate phones.
Cousin at the age of 12 could go to porn site after watching. She knew how to go back to search history and delete what she has watched, so that you get the phone, you will not see it.
Was she properly supervised when the phone was introduced?
That is why I say that a lot of parents
they even have
and exactly also influence them,
because a lot of teachers in school they didn't even want to be teachers because there's no job.
That's why some parents, when your child come back from school, find out how their activities.
How did your day go?
Sometimes
what did they teach you today? My dad.
You're able to guide them. No.
If there's anything, I love so much. My dad would always do this thing because he's very busy. He would come back late, but he doesn't miss that family time when he returns before prayer. That in between dinner and night prayer, he will now come and be asking you, "What did you do today? What did you do today?" Again, we are not enjoying it because let's pray and go and sleep. Let's pray and go and do what. Maybe we having one sibling interesting conversation. You're asking us to come and sit down in the parlor with you. I beg, we don't want this.
And
the time we understood what he was trying to do.
I think he calls everyone out.
Yeah, because you sit and you do it in a very fun way. You buy things, come and eat. There will be. You tell you, I know you like suya. Oh yeah, take first. You only shower. Oh yeah. You like juice. He will used to tease you. See you.
And I think I remember what she's saying is actually real. Because I
Yes.
remember when I was around 15, 16, before even that, I was watching this guy, Serial Stove on NTA.
Yeah.
That was how I developed
Parents usually do that. Like, what
Serious
is
too,
9
but that's
o'clock?
9
But
When you're done summarize, give me what
do you know
learned.
that was the only visual learning I could get from TV. And
There's some certain programs too.
do you know how that
They're just by moonlight sort of thing.
Take a step. If you don't
Yeah,
take a step,
yes.
every Sunday my father will make us watch take a
I never
step.
watched cartoon.
That will make us
Do you know what my
just
father
take a
would do?
step.
Once the name of the cartoon appears,
Mm.
my father will instruct my mom, next week, go and get this novel for them. They will need to read it in hard copy.
Oh yes.
Now,
Those big
NTA was the only way. That's 1 hour, 9 to 10, was the only way. And do you know what my father would do? Get pen and paper.
Yeah.
Yes,
You need
you're
to
right.
keep down every.
Yeah.
And that was how
Right.
we developed the idea about current affairs, giving
Okay.
debates in schools.
True.
Because I
Sometimes-
feel if you start life in a soft way for your children, it's a ticking time bomb. And when it happens, you can't hold it. Start the harder way.
Okay, I think
I
I'm going to
remember
correct
when-
you.
Start the
a
harder
little
way.
bit. I don't
Gen Z
think
will always correct.
Sorry.
That way.
I don't think it's you starting life in a soft way. I just feel like it's more of making things a little convenient for
The
your
world-
child,
but not too flexible.
but not too flex. My father would tell you. My father would
There's-
always tell you.
There's
For
a lot
example,
of
now.
distractions in the world right now. Social media we are battling with. There's a lot going on. So if you don't make your children, if you don't reinforce the ideas of your children, reinforce their mindset, they will not withstand it. That's
No,
what I'm saying.
I just feel like there are certain ways you go about it. My father will always do this thing for you. He will let you enjoy everything, but he always tell you. For example, we had this thing they used to do in our secondary school. Every Tuesday swimming. If you're interested, you pay. During break time, they'll carry people go and swim. My father allowed us to swim for the first year, second year, third year. He told you this is luxury. I want you to experience this so that you don't go out there and people use very petty things to get you carried away. But this is not life. So he wants you to know it's not tomorrow somebody will tell you, come, let me take you swimming. Because you've not gone swimming before. You're not doing, oh my God, swimming. You don't want to go for swimming. He wants you to experience. My father will buy something and tell you, eat this, you buy this. But you tell you that this is luxury.
This is not the most.
This is not what life
I had
is.
an experience
And that's
about
where
swimming.
it ends.
Swimming, we never did that in my house. Until today, I'm water phobia. And I stepped away from swimming. I haven't died. Nothing has happened to
But
me
do you
about
know
it.
that in as much as you haven't died,
It's actually
in a
something
situation
from
where you are,
yes. Or there's a plane crash and fell inside the water.
that's Jesus, you know that I did not take swimming. I'm waterphobia. And just come.
What if you could have become the world swimmer?
Right. Swimming.
Like with parents, I feel like it's high time we infuse both system of parenting now. Let's get those good things that made parenting, that made children know what to do. That thing whereby you that strict form of parenting that helped build and formed a lot of people, and and also imbibe the convenience of like my father will tell you, "Eji are fine easy. If it can be done easily, do it easy."
Right.
Yes, in as much as
Software better for you.
not be soft like you can buy your child novels to read. My father will get you a novel and ask you to pick out 20 words you've not heard before from that novel. Get you a dictionary. We always had an Igbo dictionary, a French dictionary, and we don't know how to speak Igbo in our house because they trained us with English. We went to school English. My father said,
another problem.
you know the next thing he did? He went to market and bought 20 Igbo novels from different age ranges, and then he will give you, read this.
I need
this.
to meet your father.
You really need
He
to.
did an amazing job.
My dad My dad is no. My dad is so. Now. My dad is so good.
I was saying.
You didn't see that bonding you there.
What the point I'm trying to pick
We
is
need
that
to meet this other day.
you really need to meet him. The point, he's a very wise man. the point I'm trying to make is that when I watch the way he parented us initially, the older ones, and
Yeah.
I see the way he's parenting the younger ones now, I see the difference. And I see that the understanding of, okay, now these things that I used to do then is not working now.
So he's innovative.
Now, about this
Yeah.
comment, I have
He's
another question
flexible.
to ask.
It's not working again.
At what point
Flexible.
do you think?
He modified.
At what point do you think is appropriate to allow your kids have the opposite sex relationship? It's still part of parenting.
Yes,
Because I know
yes.
that's what one of the things parents are battling with. And as you're answering, I also want you to, answer when do you think is also important to, give the sex education to your children?
Okay. The sex, I remember back then, you're being told that once you start menstruating, you're like, once a man touch you, bam,
You get pregnant.
get
What
pregnant.
about the
Thank
male?
you.
What about the male?
That is
what
a
point?
very, very bad.
The male,
bad,
they're
bad
like, once
training.
you get a lady pregnant, you must marry her. Back then.
Yeah.
Like, once you get a lady pregnant, you must marry
Meaning
her.
that once you start understanding what erection is about,
Yeah, but the
Okay.
thing here is sex education should start at the age of 2.
2.
no.
I'm saying that
Me is
because
3.
hold on, I'm saying that because when there are sometimes some children can be molested in schools at the age of 2. Someone is touching their private parts and stuff like that.
They
So
don't know what it means.
They don't know what it means. But when they're 2, you're like, nobody should touch here. Nobody should touch here.
Yeah.
If anybody touches here, But if you do
Tell
not let
mommy.
that child know,
What
they
is
become
actually
so comfortable.
Yes.
And these are things. There are some things they just say, and they're like, you're surprised. But if you have already given them that orientation at that age, growing up, they become informed,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So that's it on
2.
my own part. Then,
Male and female, 2.
yeah, male and female.
Mm.
Then what's the other question you asked?
Just at what point do you think it's important to
Relationship.
introduce, allow them to have
Relationship.
relationship and stuff?
With the opposite sex.
Our parents will tell you, even if you're still in school at the age of 18 or 20, they're like, leave relationship, focus on your studies first. Relationship will come in, and then
Thank
what the-
you.
yeah,
They're like,
all this
good.
fineness and all
No,
that.
no, 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 no.
Yes, and they just come.
What are you doing?
Any small argument you have with your mom, you will not tell you, leave my husband's house and go to your own husband's house. See, do you see that car mama and it's her in-laws that bought it for her. See, what are you doing
So,
here?
at
Our
what age
parents
do you think
were,
this is
they did a
important?
great job, but they
Personally-
lacked few information. They lacked
I
some
think
very wonderful information.
when you're in your early 20s, but even though they are
20s, wow.
yeah,
Early 20s, anyway.
yeah.
Yours,
20s,
that's way
wow.
far.
Hustlers are good first. It's a good thing.
No, no, I'm following like this. No, don't change the sequence. No, I'm
Yeah,
following.
so maybe you're 21, 22 sort of thing.
You know,
Okay.
before this show, I was doing a research on parenting,
Yeah.
and I was asking myself, when is the right time to give consent to this relationship thing
Mm.
with our kids?
You can also tell us when you also started. Just continue.
Yes.
When you also started pulling the balls and stuff.
And when you will give your children,
So I
because
was
children
making
are
the research, I
coming.
was asking myself questions like,
Leave the research. Use yourself and give an example.
when I do when should I allow my son? Then this thing we talked about now was actually the main thing that was kicking me. Like we blame I was asking somebody the ratio of unmarried women to married women. Like what's the ratio?
Yeah.
Like is there a big difference?
Yeah.
Because me, I feel there is a big difference that the unmarried ones are much. And what is causing this? And the person was like, it's not really the way we were brought up that caused it though. It's not the society that some people that are not married might be as a result of the fact that maybe the person was rejecting husbands at a very younger age.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're 30 and imagodizaki na late.
Yeah.
Or some people would be in a relationship dating one for 3 years, waiting for the guy for 4 years. At the end of the day, the guy has no chores.
Breakfast.
They were molested or
Yeah.
something.
So no buri ya nche no nyawa Like, it's not what I thought, like, no, our parents did, cause, so yeah, maybe they are trying to force us stay away from a guy or stay away from this. No, no, but we are cause, so yeah. That's not good now. No, just maybe, no, in a scale of 1 to 100, no, maybe 10, that no may affect. So Imago, it was a different angle that I didn't even imagine, because I was of the opinion that na boys school girls school my own thoughts.
I don't like same-sex schools.
Because no, if my life is about marriage.
Yeah. Same-sex
Build a
schools
legacy.
reordering what God has.
That's what me I feel before we started this conversation. I'm not what that was the thing that was
So tell us
disturbing me.
the
I was
age.
looking for a solution. I'm coming. So when I feel from the same school, I go call you. I'm not what I make call you. From there, you know, so many guys that can come back and say, when we were in school, I like this Oslagi. I'm not what she was this good. Not separating people together. You magana make us see it differently. Let me say, no, from her bear. Hang out to who?
Because I think at that point their puberty is developing, everything is blooming up.
Yes.
And then they now
you
And
get
that
the
age, they want to
attachment.
explore.
We go back to people we know. In fact, people we know back then is who we trust more than the new ones.
Is that how you got married? Sorry, I'm going personal.
You're going off track. You're going off track. No, I'm saying I was doing a research on these things, and these are the things I come up with. But I've not arrived at what age particularly.
Give us a range.
I'm not giving it a
Personally, like on a
but
personal thought, let's say you have a child now, which you probably may. What age would you start letting? Will your child come up to you and tell you now, "Oh, daddy, there's this boy I like, or there's this girl I like"? Will you permit the child to further a relationship with that person?
Since you people are saying, I've not even thought about that sex education should start from the age of 2. I think if I have that relationship with my son or my daughter, and we're talking about sex education, and my daughter is telling me that he likes this guy, I think I can monitor the relationship. I can be telling her what to do. And
Should you wait for your daughter? A further question: should you wait for your daughter to ask you the question, or should you be the person to introduce that conversation and knowledge about opposite sex to your daughter?
If we're having sex education, like you mentioned,
shouldn't you be the person to introduce the sex education?
That's what I'm saying now. Like we suggested, it's something we've agreed. Like we are pushing it out to our viewers that this is a solution. That sex education should start by 2, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying if we are starting sex education by 2, I think sex is something you don't discuss then. These are questions never asked.
Very valid
so
point.
if I'm like having sex education with you now, there's nothing I cannot talk with you now.
Getting to
if it's starting by 2, I will discuss everything.
Sex.
We'll discuss everything.
I feel like
from
sex education.
That's what
I get.
Yeah.
Yes, but I feel like
Sex is
when it
different
comes
from sex
to
education.
sex education, you need to
Sex
start
is-
very early to imbibe the knowledge.
Okay.
But
I don't want my child to walk up to me and ask a
Let her
question
finish.
about
Let her finish.
this is
which I've not told them.
this is where a lot of people make mistakes.
Parents make
Okay, yes,
mistakes.
a lot of parents make mistakes. Because I feel like when it comes to sex education, there are 2 types of parents. There are one that don't tell you anything about it. That's why I'll categorize my mommy. My mom is very naive. She'll be like, you don't say that. You don't talk. You don't have that conversation.
Yeah, it's
You
not
get,
just
it's now very
Comfortable.
that she
not
don't,
just
she don't see that.
it's not just your mom.
Yeah.
What I say, these are things you don't say. There are things you don't discuss.
Please, we are not doing it. We don't do that type of thing. We are not taking anything somewhere.
Now,
Say,
even if you're
I said we are not
together
doing
somewhere.
it. We are not doing it.
Okay.
We are not taking anything somewhere. Please. I feel like at the early stage, just like what you said, for safety purposes, the people are very wicked.
Okay.
Very wicked now. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
What
see
is
a child of 2, 3, 6 months, and somebody is beginning to misbehave with that child. So it's important to let
close
to the child. A neighbor you give your child to take care of it.
That's
Your
what
help.
Lazarus say, monitor every move.
Your help. Do you
Monitor
get? So I feel like at an early stage, yes. If a guy should touch you, if anybody should touch you,
Yeah.
tell mommy. If anybody's touching you, tell daddy.
Yeah,
If
and
everybody,
it's
tell
because
mom.
sometimes
It's very important.
when these pedophiles, do stuff
Do
like
something
this, they
funny.
always, put this fear in them. Don't tell them. If I tell them, I'll kill you.
Kill
sort
you.
of things, stuff like
Surprisingly,
that. It's part of the
we
things.
kept
But
it
if
as the
you-
pedophiles, even the doctors, even the
Even
medical
yes,
practitioners.
they are all
that look
pedophiles.
at children.
Anybody that looks
Even
at children,
brothers too. The
yes,
incest.
parents.
You've not heard two twins defending why they're in relationship.
So do you know
Right
what
on
I'm saying?
TV, defending it, male and female, why both of them were in relationship. They don't even understand that this is wrong.
I think I've read something like that.
Yeah, I think the one I saw is brothers and sisters.
This is what I'm saying. Like twins,
Yeah.
they were defending it. They have been in relationship for 7 years. They're enjoying
That's why
it.
that sex education is very.
So,
Very,
like
very
I was
powerful.
saying,
You shouldn't let your children to introduce it to you. Be the person to talk about it. So that they go outside, just like she said, swimming shouldn't be a thing. You should be the one that should take your kids on swimming lessons.
And
by the time a guy says, "Come, babe, let's go for a swimming lesson. Let me surprise you."
Let that child not be deceived by
Exactly, small
little
sweets and
things.
stuff like that.
So like I was saying, and then there are the other set of parents that just go, boom, tell your child this. I feel like what you feed a child at an early stage is what the
Their
child
brain is
grows
still
up
forming,
with.
yeah.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
And when it comes to sex education, I won't ask you to go full on with your child at that very early stage. You teach them the basic. This is your private part. It's your private part because it belongs to you. Don't touch it unnecessarily. Don't let anyone touch it at all. At another certain stage, maybe at the age of 15, 16, 17, when the child is entering puberty, the menstruation, your body is developing, you're now going to school. Maybe your child is in a mixed school where there are boys and there are girls. That's when you then go the full on. If a guy should touch you this way, you get pregnant. This. Do not let a guy do
A guy and female, both male and
I'm talking both male and female. A guy and female.
yeah,
I'm talking.
everybody.
I'm not
So that
specifying.
your
No,
son does not come to you. I'm like, I saw something that looks.
I'm not even specifying. Both and females.
Yeah.
Like that,
Okay,
yeah.
this is where you now go the full on education.
Yeah.
Then there's another age your child will reach again, where you know that even at that secondary school 15 adolescence age, your child you're not letting your child go into sexual practices because then that child is still very young to actually participate. But at an age your child will reach, you cannot even if the child is sleeping around, you don't know. You can't even control it.
So at
This
what
is
age,
where you will now start
do you
teaching
ask
them
your daughter?
protection.
That's exactly. Now, when do you ask your daughter or your son, where is your boyfriend or girlfriend? I want to see the person.
Personally, I feel like when when you should start telling them to go into relationship.
Don't tell them going.
Okay, when you can now
Ask them that-
consent
yes.
into them having
conversation.
relationship with their partners. For me, I feel like it should be from the age of 20, 18, 20 and
Mine
above.
is 20.
I think
20,
once a child-
I
18.
think mine should start from 16, 17. I'm saying this because I think I've had